Okay, I think we are good. I'm going to be sharing my screen, folks. Just a minute. All right, can people see this? Just give me a thumbs up, speak out.
Yeah, it's visible, Karthik.
Okay, thank you, Savani. Let's make the session interactive. I would really appreciate it. And I think you can also derive the most value if we make this interactive. I really don't have a presentation, right? So I don't believe in inviting people and then boring them with like an hour's long presentation or something. So as we get started, I'm just going to put up a short intro poll. All right. You can just scan this barcode, on your cell phone, or you can go to this link on your computer and then just add one or two sentences to introduce yourself, more along the lines of what you do and how many years of experience you have, and something along those lines, industry, sector, function, right? And as you're doing this, let me take some time to introduce myself, maybe about 2-3 minutes. So my name is Karthik, and Karthik Palaniappan. I run August Academy from Chennai, India, and we've been working with MBA applicants of Indian origin. The reason I say Indian origin is because a lot of our candidates come from India and hold Indian passports, but we've also had people who are of Indian ethnicity from around the world. So people who may be living in the US or Australia or Japan or South Korea or Dubai, any one of these countries. So we've been in business since 2013, and we've probably helped around 250 to 300 applicants so far. A good number of our applicants have gotten into top 20 programs. So this includes Harvard, Chicago Booth, Kellogg, MIT, Darden, Tuck, Columbia, Yale, Duke, Ross, Anderson, Cornell. So I guess that's the top 15 in the US. And in Europe, we have INSEAD, London Business School, HEC, Oxford, Cambridge, IMD as well, IE, ISADE, and IASA, right? So that's the top 8 or 10 in Europe. Within India, of course, it goes without saying, we've had candidates get into ISB, IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore for the executive programs, and some other Indian programs as well, SPJN and all. And in rest of Asia, we've had people getting into NUS, NTU, and SEEBS and HKUST as well. Okay. All right. So that sounds good. About me personally, well, I mean, like I said, much of my career I've been working on August Academy and with August Academy and for August Academy. So this has pretty much been my life for most of it, my professional life. But apart from this, I studied engineering at IIT Madras, and I have a PhD from Stanford as well. I spent about 2-3 years in the corporate sector. I got really bored of the corporate sector, and then I thought I would take the GMAT and get into a managerial position. 2012, that was when I got about 770 on the GMAT. I got into the exec MBA program at Stanford. It's not called exec MBA. It used to be called the Sloan Fellows. Now I think it's called the MSX. Great program. I didn't really enroll for it though because of some personal reasons, but the same month is when I started August Academy, so Jan 2013. I heard from Stanford in the first week, and the first week was also when I started August Academy, and it's been great so far. All right, I have our folks introducing themselves. If it's not too much of a burden, just include your first name at least. Too many anonymous kind of things seems very impersonal, and I would like to make this a personal discussion if that's possible, right? So there's someone who has a cross-functional role across the startup. Sounds good. I would definitely like more details, like what kind of the startup it is, which industry sector is it, how big is it, when was it started, is it funded, is it not funded? And when you say cross-functional, do you mean marketing, engineering, operations? There's a lot more to it. Right now, it's short and succinct, but not descriptive enough. Take this as advice for your MBA apps and your resume, right? Somebody else, I'm working as a consultant in supply chain management, have 2.5 years of work experience. Fantastic. Savini, hi. I primarily work with data in my day-to-day. So I'm assuming you're in data analytics, possibly with one of those companies like Mu Sigma or ZS, or I don't know, I think they have Fractal and Tiger and Latent View and all those companies. So great. There's Haripriya working as a, okay. Hi, Haripriya. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Somebody else is typing. So I'll wait for the other person before launching my next poll. Or if you want, you can speak as well. So someone else sent me a direct message, work experience of 5 years, 2.5 as a fresher level in IT and 2.5 with the government. Preparing for the GMAT focus, confused between executive MBA from IIMs or normal from ISB in Canada. Okay, it's fine. I mean, we can definitely discuss that in our call today. And then there's Kshitij working in Indian military, 8 years of experience. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kshitij. You guys keep us safe. And today being Independence Day, I think we owe a great deal of debt to our armed forces. So we'll just take a minute to appreciate Kshitij and all of our armed forces members for their service. Right. Happy Independence Day, everyone, by the way. Finally, there's Ragini, senior developer with about 6 years of experience in IT. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm going to use a couple more polls. So what describes your current status? Can you just click on an answer and that will help me. I know there's only about 5 or 6 of us, but so there's someone who's done with GMAT targeting R1. Fantastic. Does anyone want to vote? There's somebody else who's not done with GMAT, but still targeting R1. There's somebody else targeting R2. And there's a future year candidate as well. One more person, GMAT not done, but targeting R1. I think this gives me a fair picture of where we are. So I'm assuming there's probably like one person who's done with the GMAT and about 4 people who are not done with the GMAT, just going by the numbers. So the people who are not done with the GMAT, it is possible that you've taken the GMAT and you're not happy with the score, but that's okay. If you want, you can share it. So someone with a 720 to 740 range score. Is there anyone else who's taken any attempt at the GMAT so far? I'm guessing not. So I'm going to move on to questions now. So please feel free to type in your questions at this link. I would request that you type in your question and then we can have like a verbal discussion on that as well. The reason I'm asking people to type in their question is because we do intend to, so this is live on YouTube, just for the cognizance of people who are on the call right now. And what we do is we are going to be splitting up our YouTube video into chapters, and we are going to be putting the questions as the titles of those chapters. So later when someone views this on YouTube, if somebody is only interested in one of the 5 questions, then they can just click on that section and they'll automatically skip to that part of the video. So they don't have to watch like 1 hour's worth of content to get like 5 minutes worth of insight for them, right? And for different people, different things are more valuable. There are early career candidates, there are later career candidates. There's people from a certain industry, say IT, there's people from a different industry, say data analytics. So whatever you're asking is going to be relevant to someone. So if you can take some time to type out your questions, please do so, and then we can have a verbal discussion as well. I'm just waiting for people to type in something. So the moment somebody puts up something, the screen will change and it will reflect their question. So does anyone have any questions? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so people do have questions. I can see that. So please do type it in. All right, we have someone who's started the process. Okay. I want to apply to colleges that don't require the GMAT. Will you be helping to apply to those colleges, or is GMAT mandatory? All right. I'm going to interpret this as multiple questions, really. Okay. If a college says that they don't require GMAT, then GMAT is not mandatory for that particular college. That is the honest truth as per whatever that college is describing, right? Are we happy to help? Yes, we are happy to help. So that's the second part to that question. But then there is an invisible third part as well. Is it worth applying in that particular scenario? Now, if you're looking at a top 20 to top 30 kind of program, and you are applying without a GMAT, then my recommendation is that it is probably not going to work out. The reason being, unless there is something exceptional in your profile, like I mean really, really exceptional, you're probably going to be left behind. Why is this the case, right? Almost every applicant belongs to a crowded pool of applicants right now. So you're either an IT professional or a consultant or a finance professional. Unfortunately, Kshitij, I don't know if this is your question or not, but I'm going to pull in your name as well. I see that a lot of armed forces professionals are retiring from the services at around the 10-year mark. So a good number of them actually do consider MBAs as well abroad. And so that also becomes, it is not as crowded as the IT pool, but there are at least 20 to 40 similar professionals who are looking at some of the top colleges, right? And that's a good number. If you look at the top 20, like every college will not want to, cannot afford to have more than one person with that kind of a background, okay? So again, I'm not saying this is Kshitij's question, but I'm just answering broadly, right? So
yeah, I'm actually preparing for my GMAT.
okay. So what is going to happen is someone in that crowded pool is going to have a higher GMAT. I mean, first of all, they're going to have a GMAT, and second of all, they're going to have a good GMAT as well. And when your profile is compared to the other person's profile, the other person will look like a tried and tested person who has been sanctioned and validated by GMAT. All right. So from the college's point of view, that person is a safe person to make an offer to, whereas you are untested. Okay. So only if you have something which is very, very unique and only you in the world have it, I don't think you should take the GMAT mandate optional requirement. This is my opinion. But the straightforward answers to your questions are, if the college says GMAT is not mandatory, GMAT is not mandatory. Can we help with those colleges? Yes, we can help with those colleges. Those are the straightforward answers. Okay. There's someone called, let this person connect to audio first, and then I'm going to ask them to rename themselves. All right, Rohit has a question. I have a work experience around 5 years, and I'm really confused between IIM ABCLI Executive Program or ISB, planning to take the GMAT focus ASAP. Rohit, can you give me some clarification? What is your confusion between ABCLI and ISB? Rohit, are you on call? Are you able to listen? So there's someone called XXX on the call. May I ask that person to rename themselves, please? Because, I mean, it's nice to be identifiable on a Zoom call. And Rohit, are you with us? Okay, Rohit, can you speak? Because I'm not able to hear you. You are on mute. So I'm just trying to understand what the confusion is between ABCLI and ISB so that I can give you a relevant answer. I'm having trouble with mic, wrote the query on Slido. Okay, that's fine. Fine, I'm just going to answer to the best of my understanding, all right? And XYZ, I'm going to put you in the waiting room. You can rename yourself and then ask to enter, and then I'll let you enter, okay? All right. See, it really depends on what your objectives are, but I think ABCLI and ISB are both viable options for somebody at the 5-year experience mark, going up to, let's say, 7 years or something. All right. Beyond that, ISB, I think the regular MBA program, you'll become a little too old for that. ABCLI executive MBA program will still work out for you. All right. Also, what is the take of these colleges on the new GMAT focus as there's a difference of 50 plus marks for the same percentile? See, schools will always take the percentile score only, even though it's convenient to talk about GMAT scores because that's the way things exist. All right. But what is going to happen is, just like they compare GMAT versus GRE, even though the scaling is different and the kind of scores you get on these two exams are different, the GMAT focus can also be treated as a third exam. So just because the name GMAT is there does not make it the same as the original GMAT. Rather, because the name focus is there, it is a different exam compared to the original GMAT. There are some similarities, but it is understood and acknowledged to be a new test. The percentile ranking is what you should go with. The actual marks, that's not what you should go with. All right. So that's Rohit's second query. Somebody else has a question. Hi, Karthik. I'm quite confused between a 1 to 1.5 year MBA versus the 2-year traditional MBA, as I already have a master's plus 4 years of work experience currently. What is the confusion here? See, the point is sometimes if you want to study in the US, you don't have a choice but to do a 2-year MBA, except, maybe like 4 or 5 colleges have 1-year programs. If you want to study in Europe, you don't have a choice but to do a 1 to 1.5 year program. All right. Very rarely are European programs 2 years. Okay. So if you're primarily driven by geographic location, there is no choice really. Okay. And wherever, if you're open about your choice between the US and Europe, then yes, discussing whether you want to do a shorter version or a longer version actually becomes a legitimate question. And at that point in time, what I would say is if you don't have prior management experience, go for the 2-year program. If you have prior management experience, then it's okay to go for a shorter duration program. All right. So these are the only people. So, and typically this choice comes to people who already have an MBA from India or who have an undergraduate bachelor's degree and who are working in like product management or an administrative or a sales kind of position. Okay. Does it answer your question? Is there
Can I
something?
ask another question
Mhm.
in continuation to that, Karthik? So just
Yes.
to add, so you said somebody who has management experience
Hmm.
should go for a two. So if we go by the traditional definition, I do not have manage. I work with data in my day to day, and
Hmm.
maybe I've led teams and presented some insights, but
Okay.
I wouldn't typically label it as a traditional management experience.
Okay.
So then should I still go for, actually my only concern is that I would not have any room to explore in the 1 year program. I've heard it's quite fast paced, and there are classes on weekends as well, and you do
Mhm.
not have any time to explore, and I'm not sure what I want to do post MBA, to be
Okay.
honest.
So in
Yeah.
that scenario, definitely a 2-year program will give you the more time to explore,
Yeah,
and that would be the right choice for you.
right. If I'm not sure of my career goals after MBA, I should go for a 2 year.
In the application, don't present it that way. In the
Yeah, yeah,
application,
okay.
yeah, but
Yeah,
in reality, definitely, yeah, the 2-year program is the
yeah.
better choice for you.
Or
Yeah.
maybe a 15 to 20 month at LBS.
That's
So,
also fine. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Because it is flexible and it's up to you to decide like whether you're ending at the 15 mark or the 20-month mark. So
21 mark, right. Also,
that should be
I
fine.
had another question, Karthik. If I am looking
By the
at
way,
the,
even 2-year MBA programs are only 22 months, right? So, I mean, we need
yeah,
to, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I had another question pertaining to my GMAT score. So I
Mhm.
scored quite low on IR. So it was a 5 on. So is this like worrisome? Should I write it again or not?
At this
I
point,
have a
no.
730. I have a
Yeah,
730.
730 is a good score. At this point, your IR score should not be a concern.
Okay.
Uh,
And
so
and what
far, I
about
don't think they've been giving it a lot of weightage.
okay, because I thought maybe they might with the new Focus edition.
We'll see. I mean, definitely for R1, it's not going to be an issue.
Okay. And what
Probably for
about
R2 also, it won't be an issue.
okay. And my quant score is it? I heard from some people in business schools that a Q48 is low, but I'm not an engineer, so does that work in my favor or will it work against me? The Q48.
See, I mean, there's two things here.
Hmm.
From an ability level, a 48 and a 50 are not very far away from each other.
Yeah.
It's only at the percentile level that the 48 and
Hmm.
the 50 are really far away. But that's okay. Uh, it's
Okay.
still a good score. Your consolidated score is good. And you're telling me you don't have a math background, right? Or at
I
least,
did my master's and bachelor's in economics.
okay, that is a math background, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be engineering. Econ is math also, but
yeah.
it's fine. From
It's
an ability level, it's not very far away from 50, so you don't have to worry too much about it.
okay. Okay. So also, Kathy, another question: if we were to work together, do we mutually decide on the colleges that we apply to? For example, like if we apply together to the top 10, top 15, do you give your insights on like what are my chances if we
So
apply?
I will be giving you my insights on what your chances are, and you will do the final selection.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, yeah.
Understood. Also, after this call, Karthik, would you be sharing like a pricing Excel or
Sure, I
anything?
can do that. I mean, just send me a reminder email. I can definitely send you a pricing thing. And towards the end of our call today,
Yeah.
I'll also explain our process and I'll also comment on our pricing a little bit. But I can send you like the numbers by email as well.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Karthik.
definitely. Yeah. Uh, uh, so I think the follow-up question is also yours, Savini, right? Should someone like me
Yeah.
wants to explore? Okay, got it. Yeah. So then, what are the challenges for second MBA Indian applicants to get in top European B schools such as London Business School, IMD, IE, or Oxbridge? Um, so high GMAT is important, definitely. Good work experience is important. It is preferable if your first MBA is from a college with lower pedigree, but we have worked with people from IIMs also. So, I don't know why people from IIMs want to go to a second MBA. Probably it is to get the global exposure, but there are people from IIMs. Even there was a person from IIM Ahmedabad who went abroad for a second MBA in a year before previously. So yeah, high GMAT, because almost everybody in this contingent is coming post CAT, right? And the CAT, it's not just like any score. They're coming with a 98, 99 percentile score, which means very effortlessly second MBA candidates will have 750 scores. Okay, so that's the pool you're competing with. Good work experience, most definitely, and a very good reason for why you want to do another MBA. So that is also something that you need to work out. I'm a female IT engineer with 6 years of experience, aiming for GRE 325 in first week of September. Okay, so this is Ragini. Which US school would you suggest in R1 for marketing entrepreneurship? Right. See, almost all top programs are good at everything, and marketing and entrepreneurship are two fundamental disciplines. All right. Now, definitely, most people are looking at post-MBA careers in consulting, followed by technology, or technology followed by consulting. These are the two popular alternatives at this point. Finance used to be very popular, but now it's third because technology comes second or first, depending on which college you're looking at. And marketing definitely comes after that. All right. Entrepreneurship, a small percentage of candidates start up immediately after college. A good percentage will start up at some point in their careers, but for a good percentage, it is not a post-MBA, immediate post-MBA career goal. Okay, so this is something that you need to keep in mind. But regardless, any business school is fundamentally supposed to teach you how to build a business. So any business school should be good for entrepreneurship. Marketing, a good number of business schools are good for marketing as well, but definitely I would ask you not to talk about it in your MBA applications if you're looking at global MBA programs. If you're looking at ISB, that's fine. The reason being, whenever you are a foreign applicant, the understanding is that marketing roles, companies prefer to hire people who've grown up in that country, so who have a very native understanding of the culture. All right. And as a foreigner, you are not expected to have native understanding of the culture. So you may not be considered for traditional marketing roles. If you're coming back to India to take up a marketing role, that is definitely open for you. But if you're looking at working in a marketing role in an FMCG kind of firm, let's say Coke or Pepsi in the US, it may not be very feasible. And because of that, if you write that in your career goal statement, you may be considered as a risky candidate for placements. All right. So my suggestion is with the 325, you can look at schools in the top 20 to 25, and you don't have to differentiate between the schools for marketing or entrepreneurship. All of the schools should be equally good. Rohit, I think I've answered this question. If there's any further clarification required, you can let me know. And Ragini talks about schools that offer scholarships are preferred. So typically, this is how it works for US schools, at least. There's usually no separate application for scholarship, and almost every school offers a good amount of scholarships. Okay. But then there's something for you to keep in mind. For every candidate, there's going to be a range of colleges which will not provide them with admits. Just below them in ranking, there will be a range of colleges which will just about provide them with admits, but no scholarships. And then below that, there will be a range of schools which will provide them with admits and good scholarships as well. So always the compromise you'll have to make is, am I going to go to a higher ranked program, even though they don't offer me a scholarship? Or am I going to go to a lower ranked program that offers me a scholarship? What is higher ranked and what is lower ranked? That may change from person to person. There's going to be someone who gets rejected at Harvard. There's going to be someone who gets an admit at Harvard and an admit with a scholarship at Kellogg. And there's going to be a person who gets rejected at Harvard and Kellogg, but gets an admit at Darden and an admit with a scholarship at McCombs, right? So it is a sliding scale. For everybody, the fundamental phenomenon is the same, and that is true, all right? A higher rank program will just offer you an admit. A lower rank program will offer you a scholarship as well. How you make the optimization is up to you, really. Any follow-up questions on this, Ragini? Okay, I'm assuming that's a no. Kshitij has a question. I would have about 9 years of work experience in military plus 2 years of previous work experience in CTS. Okay. Total of 11 years work experience. Will it diminish my chances to some top schools? Typically, yes, you would be considered to be, okay, let's rephrase. if a candidate with 11 years of work experience approaches us, we typically tell them that their chances of getting into business school for a regular MBA program is low, but for an executive MBA program, it will be high. Okay. But there are some exceptions to this rule. And one of the exceptions is somebody who has worked in the military. All right. So this is where you would fit in. So as a military applicant, it's okay. You can still do this, right? Sorry. So Haripriya has a question. What is the deadline to take GMAT exam for August 2024 intake? So assuming you are an Indian passport holder, Haripriya, I would encourage you to apply latest by round 2. And round 2 applications are in January, starting with the first week and going up to, let's say, the third week or so. It is very useful to spend about 2 to 3 months to prepare about 5 to 7 applications. Okay, so if you're looking at a first week of January intake, then that means the whole of December, the whole of November, and the whole of October, you need to devote to application prep, which means latest by, let's say, mid-September to the third week of September, you should have a GMAT score, near final GMAT score. That would be my recommendation. Any follow-up questions on this, Haripriya?
No, Karthik.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Shravan has a question. How can a person with 7 years of oil and gas experience write an essay that MBA can help him pivot into sustainability consulting in energy sector? That's a very broad question, Shravan. And also the other thing is this is something that falls within the gamut of our consulting services. Okay. What I mean by that is, see, there are certain things that we can share only with people who have signed up and have started working with us. Reason being, I mean, there's something that we need to hold proprietary, right? It's almost like Coke giving away its secret formula. And then, I mean, Coke loses its value after that, right? But I can give you a broad answer to this. Think about what kind of exposure you've had into the past. And think about if you can derive any motivation from your previous experience that tells you about the importance of sustainability. So that is one thing that will be a motivation. And then talk about your relevant skills. So if you want to make a break in consulting in the energy sector for sustainability. So obviously from a subject matter point of view, you need to have broad understanding of energy. You need to have broad understanding of sustainability as well. These are some things that you need to come with because the MBA is not going to teach you that. And with regards to consulting, you need to be able to show that you are a good problem solver and you are good at research, you're good at client management, all of those things. So if you can demonstrate that you have both the knowledge and the skills, then yes, I think you can show that it is reasonably feasible for you to get into that sector post MBA. Yeah. So somebody has a follow-up question to the earlier question on how GMAT affects the prospects of the scholarship. The higher the GMAT, the higher the possibility of the scholarship. The higher the GMAT, the higher the quantum of the scholarship. So all things being said, if you get into Kellogg with a 750 and you get into Kellogg with a 770, you are definitely going to get a higher scholarship. So no, I mean, that's a no-brainer. All right. Does anyone have any other questions? I think that was our last question. Does anyone have anything else?
I have one question, Karthik. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So with my current score, so
Uh-huh.
I talked to some consultants. So they're telling me that I can look at top 15 schools in the US. So like you were talking about the sliding scale. So obviously top 15 also has the top 5, the middle part and the last 5. So I wanted to ask that is it actually achievable if I apply to the top 5, top 8 with the 730, or should I retake? I mean,
top 5 meaning Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Booth, Kellogg.
Yeah, Kellogg, and basically Kellogg.
See, I don't know what your background stories are like, Saloni.
Right.
But typically for these colleges, you would need a higher GMAT. But if you have strong stories, and not just strong stories. I mean, I think this MBA, both the MBA consulting world, right? Consultants like me, though I don't think we've done it at August Academy. And to a certain extent, the colleges themselves, they do this bad marketing, I would say, that
Hmm.
life stories are going to change a lot of things. But primarily, I think work accomplishments are objectively weighed higher because they are objectively be measurable. And
Hmm.
then life stories, unless there's something like exceptionally strong, right? Like something that uh, makes the front pages of a newspaper or something, right? Like that unique. Most of us share the same life stories. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
you that you grew up in a humble middle class background. Yes, I also grew up in a humble middle class background, and maybe about 3 out of 5 people here also grew up in the same background. I mean, somebody may be from Calcutta, somebody may be from Hyderabad, somebody may be from Lucknow. To them, all of us are from India, and it's all more or less the same. I mean, so yes, it's possible to write that in an interesting manner, but just because you write that in an interesting manner does not make it a unique story, right?
Right.
So we need to see if there's something very unique, and beyond that, if yes, that story will make a difference. Otherwise, it's mostly your accomplishments that are going to be making the difference. And if you got some good work accomplishments, that'll definitely carry a lot of value. That much I can say.
Okay.
Uh, and that can help you target a top five. But for most people, I say top five is difficult.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with you uniquely as per your profile, because I don't even know what your profile is. I haven't looked at it. Um, the higher the GMAT, the better, definitely. That is
Hmm.
also there. But yeah, once we look in, we can understand. Yeah, the top 50
Understood.
seems more reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the starting from sixth, something like a Ross up to maybe the 15th one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
more
That
visible.
should be
Yeah.
fine. I'm not discouraging a top five app.
No, understood. Understood.
Yeah. I'm just not able to comment on it at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah,
Understood. Yeah. Thank you, Karthik.
definitely. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? I'm just going to take about 5 minutes to walk people through our counseling process, and I'll comment on our pricing as well. And later, if somebody wants more information, please write to me, and then I can share the information via email as well. See, broadly, the way we work with our candidates is the first step is for me to understand your background information. So I'll be sharing a few questions, and then I'll be asking you to write down answers to this. So in this phase, you will be writing about 1,500 to 2,000 words total, not per question or anything, total of 1,500 to 2,000 words, which is not all that much, because if you look at a typical MBA essay, you're looking at between 300 to 500 words. So we are looking at the equivalent of 4 to 6 essays. All right. No worries about grammar or writing quality or anything. This is just for you to convey your background information to me. That's all. So no pressure. If you're able to finish in about 4 or 5 days, we can move on to the next stage. The second stage will be shortlisting. So based on what I understand about your work accomplishments, as evidenced by looking at your resume, we'll edit your resume also. But for this version, I'll need like a first version or your previous version of the resume. And then also these life stories that you shared with me. By looking at that and putting it in context of your GMAT, where did you study? What kind of percentage do you have? How many years of work experience? What kind of company? I'll be able to generate a shortlist for you. And Savini, like you mentioned, I'll be able to qualify them as stretch colleges or target colleges or safety colleges. So I'll be able to do that for you, right?
Okay. Understood.
And then you will make the choice of the colleges. I am someone who follows the philosophy that my role is to provide you with advice, but this is your life and your career. So you have to be the decision maker on this. If you're finding it difficult to make a decision, I'll make it for you. But till that point, I will be giving you the advice and you will be the decision maker. Okay. So once we've settled on a shortlist, then we move into the next phase, which is the application phase. For every college, I'll help you with the essays, the letters of recommendation, and the resume. You will be writing the content, but I will be providing comments on how you can shape it better. The first part is where we'll meet for brainstorming, where we'll discuss your life stories one more time, and then we'll figure out what stories are better for which colleges. Okay, so that is where it starts. And once we've identified this, much of the work is done because the rest of the essay writing process simply becomes taking that story and executing it in a good write-up. That's all. But the choice of story and the narrative argument around that story, that we would have settled down on in our brainstorming call. So the brainstorming call is actually a very important part of this whole process. And after this is done, we'll have an outline for each essay. So if a college has 2 or 3 essays, we'll have outlines for all 2 or 3. If a college has 6 or 7, as in the case of some European colleges, we'll do that too. And then we'll close our call. You'll write the essays, you'll share it with me. In about 2 to 3 days, I'll get back to you with my comments on how you can improve your drafts. And then you share another draft with me, and we'll keep going back and forth till we get it right. Similar process for the resume and the letters of recommendation also. Interview prep, some of the packages we have interview prep, some of the packages we don't have interview prep. So I can give you like clarity on which ones have it and which ones don't. Now, broadly, we have 2 levels of packages. There's a comprehensive tier of packages where we have 1 brainstorming call of 1 hour each per college. And then there's an ultra tier where we do not limit to 1 call per college, but we do have a soft limit. If you have a call today, the next call can only be 7 days later. Okay, so except for that, there's no limit, right? So we have our 3-school comprehensive package, which does not include mock interviews. For that, we charge 1,95,000 plus GST, comprehensive being 1 call per college. 5-school comprehensive package, which includes mock interviews, we charge 2,50,000 plus GST. GST is 18%. 3-school ultra package, which also includes mock interviews, no limits, subject to 1 per week. For this, we charge 2,75,000 plus GST. And then the 5-school ultra, again, no limits. We have interviews as well. For this, we charge 3,40,000 plus GST. So if somebody wants, please write me an email and I will be sending you the same pricing schedule as well. And then, you can ask me follow-up questions. I'll be happy to answer, and then we can take our engagement forward. Happy to work with you. Any other questions before we close? I think Sanket has a question. Is it a good strategy to work parallelly on applications and GMAT? This is a question that we have faced several times before. In theory, it is a very good strategy to work on the GMAT and the applications together. Okay. Why? Because neither the GMAT nor the application process will require 100% dedication of your time, and you can actually multitask. So it is possible. But in practice, what happens is, especially when you're working with a consultant, my recommendation is that you do it one after another. Why? Because when you lock in a GMAT score and then you approach me, I can provide you clarity as to what kind of colleges are possible to target. Okay. You will start working with me if you like my proposal. If you don't like my proposal, you will not work with me. Okay. So either way is fine, but you have clarity about what is involved, and I also have clarity about what is involved. Right. Now, in case the GMAT is not there, and then you come and tell me that, hey, Karthik, you know what? I'm targeting 720. Okay. So the next step is I will be charging you whatever fee that I've just said. Let's say you sign up for a 3-school ultra. So I'll be charging you 2,75,000 plus GST, right? So that's around 3 lakhs or so. Okay. And then what will happen is we'll start the application process. You'll share your background stories. And then we'll assume that your GMAT is 720. And then we'll make a short list. And then we'll start working on essays, resume, and application, right? And then at that point, let's say you take the GMAT and you end up with a 720. Perfect, right? That's the ideal scenario. But what if you don't end up with a 720? Of course, the chances are you can end up with a 730 or a 750, which is also fine. The work that we've done is still usable. But if you end up with a 670, then the college that we worked on and we probably spent 2 to 3 weeks on it's not realistic for you to expect much in terms of results from that with a 670 score. Okay. But we are not going to be in a position to refund you anything at that point because of a few reasons. And, so it just becomes a very unhappy situation, right? I would say that when you're working with a consultant, it is best that you have the GMAT recorded and then you start the application process. unless you have some extreme clarity on why you think a score is possible. All right. There are some people who say, hey, Karthik, I'm going to get a 720. They get a 720 and then, everything's perfect. So if your estimation is that spot on, then yes, we can start. All right. Any other questions, people? Okay. Yeah, Savani has a question.
Yeah, I only had one on the interview part of the packages, Karthik. So, I mean, if somebody takes, like you put in the limit for the brainstorming calls on the comprehensive package. So, suppose I'm interested in buying the 5 school comprehensive, and I basically wanted to understand what does the interview package entail? Like, does it have 1 hour for each school, or I mean, how does
it has a total of 2 mock interviews.
Okay.
So there'll be 2 1-hour calls. Usually I say 1 hour calls, but it goes on for about 1 hour and 10 minutes to 1 hour and 15 minutes or so. And within that, but even before we get to the calls, I will be providing you with some video tutorials, and you will take, that's about 2 hours of videos. So that'll give you some orientation as to what to expect. Then I'll be sharing a question list with you, which you can use to prepare. And post that, we'll get into the first mock, and then we'll do the second mock. It's across the package, not on a per school basis. On the Ultra, we don't have any limits whatsoever. So it can be per school, it can be across the package, either way. Yeah.
Okay, so in the Ultra, you can meet for however many times.
Subject to 7 days between 2 calls.
7 days. Okay, understood.
But other than that, that's more than it.
So if somebody buys the comprehensive, Karthik, and they, I mean, at some point they realize they, want to connect with you again. So is there, do you have some kind of an hourly provision so that they can buy an hour of your time? If
we
they
can work it out. That should be fine.
Okay, understood. And can they switch up their package?
That should be fine as well.
Okay, understood. So those were all my questions. Thank you, Karthik.
Sounds good, sir. Yeah. Rohit has a question. Your take on IIM Executive, ISB, SPG, and MBA versus from US or Canada based solely on current globalization trends or future possibilities. They're all good, Rohit. I mean, I don't have anything to say this is better or that is better. If you see yourself living and working in India, then definitely either a top 5 global program, top 5 meaning top 15 global program, or IIM, ISB, SPJ should be good. If you see yourself working abroad, then definitely a foreign college will be better for you, even if it is not top 15. Yeah. In India, even a top 15 US is fine. Below top 15, not to come back immediately to India, but maybe you'll work in the US for 4 or 5 years and then come back to India, then again, outside the top 15 is also fine. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. I'm going to assume that that would be the end of our session now. Again, happy Independence Day, everyone. Thanks so much for making it on a holiday. I understand that Gadar 2 and Oh My God 2 are out, but you guys thought it was more valuable to come and attend my session, so I'm pretty flattered. But again, taking another minute to remember our armed forces and people like Kshitij who've contributed to the welfare of our nation. Thanks, everyone, and have a nice rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, Karthik.
Thank you.
Bye.